So, Connecticut, you really have to follow, and nobody does, what Blumenthal and Murphy do in other countries. Kenya, for example. Do you know what happened there? Do you know what happened in Nigeria with Blumenthal? Do you know what happened with Murphy in his 7 countries and the mayhem? There's mayhem, folks. For example, if you look, let me take myself off. This is the letter for the 40% of the active duty women serving in the United States where Blumenthal is securing abortion services, okay? That's not what he did for Boko Haram, okay? You know who Boko Haram is? You should know. In Nigeria, Boko Haram is ruthless. They rape every woman they can find. And Blumenthal says, wow, they should have, abortion services because of the rape policy of the federal government. Hold on a second. He says nothing about the rape policy, okay, which is the problem. So if you want to fix a problem, you talk about the problem. Instead of telling Nigeria to provide abortion services to the women, they should really stop the rape, which is the injury, okay? What happens later and how they profit from it should concern you, because human trafficking from Kenya and Nigeria is quite a huge business, okay? Quite a huge business. Now, where do those children end up? He knows. He's not addressing the real problem. If we don't start addressing the real problem here, we're going to have big problems. We have problems now, but this war is escalating. Listen to this.
The right of people to vote. It is very clear that vote must first be free, fair, and verifiable. If they say it is free, everybody voted yes. If it is fair, nobody was denied yes. It is verifiable. Open the summer for us to verify.
Okay, so countries that vote, for example, like the United States and the U.S. Senate race in Connecticut, the 57,000 signatures, 57,962, I gave to the state of Connecticut disappeared. And the Democrats, Ted Bromley, gave them to Hearst Media to smear me. And guess who controlled it? Matt Blumenthal, Richard Blumenthal's son, is chair of the Elections Committee. Hold on. So I appeal. The judges are in bed with Richard Blumenthal. Fact, they have signed confidentiality agreements. B, Ned Lamont appoints the judges and certifies their judgeship, putting them on the bench. Yeah. And 1 by 2 by 3 by 5, they are, like Judge Clark, issue disparage treatment. What do I mean by that? Blumenthal's race was in Bridgeport. Mark Zuckerberg bribed Bridgeport $313,000. What happened? They put out the absentee ballots, and my signatures were destroyed. 57,963. So here we go. We're going on our 4th Bridgeport election for the mayor. Okay? In the first election, both candidates stuffed the ballot illegally, and Judge Clark said, wow, that's just fraud. That's too bad. One type of fraud is more serious than other types of fraud. So what did I do? I took my writ of error and my habeas corpus to the Supreme Court 9 times, and they destroyed it 9 times. And who runs the Supreme Court? Well, the Office of the Chief Court Administrator doesn't answer emails. I filed 60 judicial complaints with her. Okay? I sent her a snuff video of a boy being murdered a year and a half ago when Patrick Carroll was in charge. What's going on here? Blumenthal clearly violated every law. He is not elected. He can't be certified. He's allowing Paragon and Seidel to count the votes in Spain on a foreign server. And what does LHS do? What does ES&S do? They falsify the hacking. We have the data. They don't look at the data. And the judges, one after the next, Mr. Flynn's a conspiracy theorist. I've already proven that Richard Blumenthal rigged his election, folks. I've already proven that his son runs the rigged elections. I've already proven that I got 57,962 signatures to put me on the ballot. They say I got 0 votes. 0. My father voted for me, my son voted for me, and I voted for me. My friends voted for me. I have pictures of the ballots, and I still got 0 votes. Richard Blumenthal is a fraud. Did you hear this guy from Kenya speak? Want to hear it again? I think it's worth hearing again. I think it's important that you hear what Kenya says.
Say it is free, everybody voted yes. If it is fair, nobody was denied yes. It is verifiable. Open the server for us to verify. That server must be open. And if Ruto cannot open that server, Ruto must know that his time is limited in that house.
That's right. That's right. Look at the Boko Haram evidence, man. Look at the Boko Haram evidence. I mean, Richard Blumenthal, your U.S. Senator, wants to provide rape care to the victims. Right. Well, his job is to stop the rape, if he can. How does he do that? Well, he's too brain dead to know. And guess what? Murphy's in charge, collecting bribes from Ukraine through Burisma. All these Egyptian problems are created by Murphy, meeting Al Thani in Hartford, now in Manhattan, with other Democrats. And Al Thani paid Menendez the bribe in gold. And Menendez was paid in gold from Egypt, which is Chris Murphy's country. He's foreign relations for Egypt. Okay? So if people don't know what the Houthi are doing, Blumenthal and Murphy took them off the terrorist watch list so they could fund them, funding both sides of the Egyptian situation because the Egyptian hardware and artillery showed up in Russia, and Himes and Blumenthal, with Murphy, gifted Afghanistan $85 billion in armaments. And who got the kickback? The defense contractors are paying Americans, and the pharma lobbyist is another thing. Oxy bribes were collected by Himes and Blumenthal, and the same lobbyist, Leiter, in Connecticut, is Hunter Biden's lobbyist in Connecticut. Blumenthal's lobbyist is the 5G lobbyist in Connecticut, the same lobbyist as Hunter, the same lobbyist as Murphy. So when I say Murphy threatened the Ukraine president that if Biden was investigated on behalf of Trump, that Murphy would withdraw all military support for Ukraine. What does that mean? What does that mean? It means that Egypt wouldn't give the Afghanistan Blackhawks to who? The Humvees wouldn't show up in Russia. For who? I'm not privy to the private or top secret documents that Mr. Murphy is using in Egypt to collect bribes. All I can assume is that if he threatened the Ukraine president and he was paid by lighter, that the guy's a dirty bastard and he's heading us into World War III. We should talk about Boko Haram. Or better yet, the Houthis that cut the heads off Christians that Blumenthal and Murphy have never mentioned. Never mentioned it. Yet, they took them off the terrorist watch list. They must be okay with beheading Christians, because I'm not. Murphy's an atheist. I believe he's Presbyterian. He does not go to church, folks. And Blumenthal, is he the fifth horseman of the apocalypse? Pretty much. Have a great day. Follow where we're going, because where we're going, you're not going to believe. And if you don't follow, people call me all the time, oh, you're skipping around too much. I can't follow it. That's not my problem. That's Hearst Media creating the problem. What about the graves of Tigarians in Afar? Have you ever heard of it? You should look into it. The graves of Tigarians in Afar. Do you know what I'm talking about?